Several weeks ago, I got an email about a game called SCP Daybreak, and it fascinated me. I very quickly went and played the game all the way through, and I realized I just had to make a video about it. I've seen this game before when I was looking through SCP games, but the fact it was so unfinished put me off from it. Putting my cards on the table, I was directly asked to cover this by the developer, and I figured it was worth a try. However, I am still going to be pretty critical because that's just what I do. I'm not here to blindly praise anything, I want to actually talk about it. So, how is the game? Well, it's unfinished. It's in very early alpha. In its current state, it's very similar to Containment Breach. You wander around an empty building looking for ways to progress while avoiding certain things. The game starts out in an old office area that gives you bits of story you have to explore until your first interaction with sunlight. The sun kills you. The lore is all just placeholder quality stuff, to be expected, but the lead dev Squiffy is confident in making a well-written exploration of the original Daybreak article, which I said is going to be really hard, but hey, he seemed pretty confident. After you get out of the offices, you have bigger areas with more sunlight, and then you go back to dark areas, and that's kind of it. Yeah, that's the whole game. I did say it's in very early alpha. Only issue is it's been in early alpha for 2 years with few changes made to it. There's been some updates, don't get me wrong, things have been added, but it hasn't really changed what the game is. It's a short, unpolished, somewhat confusing preview of a game about when day breaks. And I don't mean all that as criticism, because it's not even close to being done, but what I have to question is the development timeline, and this is something I talked about with Squiffy. Let me start this bit by saying he was very intent on discussing getting more players, and I understand that, but that's what really caught my interest when I first got this email, the bit about needing more attention. See, it's kind of obvious why it doesn't have players, even Squiffy knows. It's because the game doesn't have anything in it. I wandered around a facility for an hour looking at empty offices, avoiding easily avoidable rays of sunlight, and then I was sent into long dark hallways right away. The atmosphere was the best part of the game, but it was being set up the whole playthrough. It felt like the game didn't know when to actually have something interesting happen. When you reach a new area, there isn't anything you can do. It's all just walking around the facility with very few actions the player can take. This isn't the stage where games get a lot of attention. I think a lot of devs could make a big level where you wander around and place beams of light that instantly kill you if you touch them. Hell, I've never made a game, but I could probably do that. It's generally not worth it for audiences to catch wind of these projects because they're very easy to set up and there's no telling if they'll be completed. And going back to the main issue, the lack of content updates makes it look dead. So the solution to getting more players here is updating the game. This is something I asked Squiffy about, what development was like and what each member of the team did. However, it seems that everyone works on different schedules and is unmotivated given how little attention the game gets. So I basically told him this, and I know he's watching, so it bears repeating. You have to update the game. You have to update the game. If the rest of the team is unreliable, but you're passionate about it, you need to get the ball rolling and make changes. Make the game closer to what you want it to be like, and add some features that'll keep it interesting. The biggest hindrance in publicity is the lack of content, so adding some puzzles, making more interesting areas, and definitely condensing what you have already would help a lot. I mean, I spent 45 minutes completing this game, but it's slow. You could probably speed it up a little. If the biggest issue with the team is no players, then it may be up to you to get more players, until there's enough interest for a whole group of people to be motivated again. Until then, you're going to be waiting for that motivation to happen on its own. And this is something that sucks about game development. It's slow and not very rewarding for an indie team, but when you have passion for something and when you're serious about getting it done, you have to be the driving force behind it. Sometimes it's up to one person to keep a project going, or else it will die. So that's all I wanted to say about this game. I thought it was neat and had a good atmosphere, and although I compared it to Containment Breach, this game could become so much more. I even told Squiffy it's more accurate to compare Containment Breach to a buggy, unpolished game than to make the comparison the other way around, and my conversation with him ended up being an interesting look into how indie game development is hard. If you're interested in the game, it's free on Steam, and hopefully it'll have an update someday. In the meantime, I'm going to be playing some unreleased versions of Fragmented Minds, which I just so happened to stumble upon. That should be my next video. I'll see ya.